Joining us now, retired U.S. Army Major General William Enyart. General, really looking forward to your take on all of this. You know, as we're talking about these cuts to the Department of Defense, Hegseth reportedly floating a list of top military officers he's considering firing and then sharing those names with lawmakers. He says on that podcast that essentially any general or admiral involved in any DEI pushes that they need to go. So based on your experience, is this change that needs to happen?
Well, good morning, Kelly. You know, I can't recall another instance in American history where a president has fired an entire swath of generals and admirals for perceived personal disloyalty to the administration's political goals. Now, certainly there have been instances of military leaders being fired for disagreeing with the president. Truman firing MacArthur during the Korean War comes to mind. Or likewise, firings for failure to or perceived failure to accomplish the mission, such as President Lincoln's merry-go-round of commanders until he found General Grant during the Civil War. But a political purge in the American military is unheard of. And that's because the American Military Officer Corps, although generally conservative, is largely apolitical. This separation of the military from politics is only a dream in most other countries where generals regularly stage coups.
So when we talk about the politics of this, you know, General Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, he's right now working to cut 8% of the defense budget over the next 5 years. That's $50 billion from programs that include DEI initiatives, climate change, and others. He's talked a lot about the damage he believes has been done within the Department of Defense as it relates to DEI initiatives, essentially saying that that's taken the focus away from the #1 goal of keeping this country safe. So he's shading it there as this isn't political. This is really more about getting the DOD to do the job that it's set out to do. Do you agree or disagree with that assessment?
Well, I think that assessment is nonsense. You know, it's a political talking point that's been adopted by the ultra right wing, and frankly, it's nonsense. You know, when you look at the American military, 45% of the American military are female and people of color. And frankly, we need people to understand cultural differences. This is a big team. It's a big team. You know, and it's interesting to me that Hegseth is showing this list of admirals and generals to be fired among Republican lawmakers. And with the disclosure of these disfavored officers, are they trying to gauge whether there may be some opposition to this drastic attack on the military hierarchy among congressional Republicans? So, you know, the process to become a flag officer, or for that matter, an E9, which is the very highest enlisted rank, in the U.S. military is extraordinarily rigorous. And it requires years of dedication, sustained effort, and demonstrated loyalty to country and service through combat tours and overseas deployments, as well as training and leadership assignments. You know, we're a nation coming off 2 decades of war. There is not a senior leader in our military who has not displayed courage and gone through this rigorous process.
Well, let's talk now about some of the initiatives he does support. He supports this House budget proposal featuring a $100 billion hike in defense spending overall. He's going to be focusing heavily on border security and that Iron Dome for America, that missile defense system. Some of his top priorities there. What do you make of that as a strategy play to keep our country safe?
Well, you know, first of all, let's look at the technology of the Iron Dome. The Iron Dome works for Israel because Israel's a tiny country. Israel's about the size of the state of New Jersey, so they can simply have a much smaller geographic footprint, and it's much easier to utilize such a system. The United States is a huge country. It's hundreds of times larger than Israel, and it would be very difficult to create an Iron Dome strategy that would work for the United States. So I think that's very questionable. I think it's interesting that on one hand, he talks about an 8% cut in the budget each year for the next 5 years. But then on the other hand, is saying, well, we want to spend an extra $100 billion. So frankly, the math on that just doesn't work out, Kelly.
Well, I wish we had more time. It's a fascinating topic. So much is happening. It's hard to keep up. Retired U.S. Army Major General William Enyart, thank you as always for weighing in.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.